Going on, people, welcome back to another JSTV. I'm back again. Tonight is the match preview show between Forest and Newcastle United at the City Ground. Saturday kickoff at 5:30. And I've got guests as usual, the usual ones.
Can you hear me?
Say again? I'll go say hi to Paul.
Yeah, mate, how's it going?
And I can see if Tom here is. Tom, can you hear us, mate? No, you can't. He's popped out here, sort out his videos as well. And hope Tom is fine. So how's you, Paul?
All good, mate. Not bad, not bad. Busy day, but all good. You?
Good. And not too bad. It's just Tom sorting out his computer out as well. So I'm sure he'll be back very, very soon. So sorry about that, people. So guys, if you like the video, like what you watch, make sure you like and subscribe. And super chats are open. Share to your socials as well. And you'd like to become a member, it is just 99p. Good evening to Leslie. And good evening to Kel. Good evening to Joy. He's a big Forest fan. And I hope you're good, my guy. I hope you're having a good time. And good evening to Tom.
Good evening. All right?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How's things with you?
I'm okay. I'm fine. Looking forward to this evening. So looking forward to listening to the Nottingham Forest guest, so that'll be good.
Yeah, cool stuff. Before we go on to it, right, I've just got a tweet, right? A guy called Chris, right? Don't know who he is. Why do the club give you tickets? That's from Chris. Let me just be clear, right, before we go on to the show, and I'm going to say about it, right? Number one, I don't get free tickets, right? Number two, I don't beg for tickets. And thirdly, I pay my way, okay? So
John, I've got the text from Eddie to say he's got the tickets for us.
Yes.
oh, well, hang on. Sorry.
Thank you, Eddie Howe. But joking aside, right? Listen, Greenhill Newcastle, if you're watching, my guy, I'm just making myself clear, and I'm also telling you as well that I do not get free tickets, and everyone else in the chat, I do not get free tickets. So.
I get free tickets. Come moan at me. I get free tickets.
Yes.
Come moan at me. I get all the free tickets.
Exactly.
Kieran Trippitt gives me all the free tickets. Just me.
What a bunch of pork chop. Absolute pork chop. All right. I mean, I've got two pork chops, right? I mean, the first one, if it's nice, I have it. So I chuck another pork chop in the bin. And obviously, Chris is a pork chop. But we move. We move. Okay, so hi to Tom, hi to Alan. Nick, by the way, really loves you, Alan, by the way. She thinks you're great. And people are morons. Jealousy is an awful thing and also a stressful thing as well. Jealousy and being bitter causes you stress. Anyway, let's move on to the preview. The game between Forest and Newcastle on Saturday, 5:30. But before we talk about that, I'll start with you, Tom. I mean, talk about Anthony Gordon. Now, won't he? He's got a foot injury. And for me, do you honestly think he's going to play on Saturday? Because I don't think he will, you know.
I'm not sure either. Certainly the way they actually put his leg or ankle or whatever in one of those, whatever you call them, supports on his leg. And he was using crutches, I think, at the same time. Didn't look very well. And in light of our track record regarding the medical team, who knows? So I've settled within my mind that he may not be playing, and yet another big upset to the side again, and makes us frankly weaker.
Yeah, I totally agree. What about you, Paul? Paul? What about you and Gordon? I mean, for me, I don't think he's going to play, but we can't afford to lose him on Saturday. Who's going to be up front? It's going to be like Miguel on the left, Murphy on the right.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think he has been training, so that's positive. I think again, it's just going to depend on how fit he is. Wouldn't surprise me to see him on the bench, maybe. It all depends on how much you can risk him. I don't want him, again, we've been here too many times. I don't want him, if he's not 100% fit, don't risk him. I'm bored these things happen when we bring back people too early and then they seem to, roll on it, or, someone goes in for a big tackle on Gordon and then he gets injured even more. It just annoys me, So if he's not fit, Don't start him, Eddie. Don't start him. Don't put him on the bench. If he's not fit, don't do it. If he is, then fine.
Well, the other thing, of course, as well, Paul, is the fact that if he did have a slight injury, I think he'd be targeted anyway by Nottingham Forest. And if that was the case, it wouldn't take much for him to go over awkwardly. And then before you know it, we're back to square one, and he's going to be out even longer. We've seen what went on with Botman. We've seen the issues they've had. Questions are being asked now why so many players have been injured. And I agree with you, Paul. No, if he's not fully fit, don't risk him.
Yeah, don't risk him at all. You don't need to play him. You do not need to play him. I'd love to see him against Arsenal as well, because that's where we need our best players for that game. And we need our best players back, Isak included. According to Lorraine, AG's ankle is fine, and he's been training although as precaution, lest they think otherwise. Didn't see Gordon on trend did, and reporters have said he'll miss Forest, but we not know until Saturday. I'm sure Eddie Howe will be asked that question tomorrow in his press conference as well. Darlow on the bench. I don't know a lot about him, by the way. I don't really know a lot about this guy, but apparently he's been getting some rave reviews as well. Let's go on to Kale again. Etiteke for me. But dodgy bullet. Did you hear about that? I mean,
he's injured again. Injured again. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. I mean, injured again. That, I tell you what, Frankfurt, I tell you what, they're a well-set football club. They must be embarrassed about the whole thing. They must be embarrassed. We're going to pay 30 million quid for this guy. And I tell you what, I don't think he'll probably get much games, to be fair. He didn't want to be here. Better about him. Jules said, Paul's love your username tonight. I've avoided my shows as I can't be doing with the BDB narrative anymore. And we are going to talk about Dan Burn as well. And we've got game Saturday. But I asked you, Paul, because I've asked Tom, do you think Tino should start over Dan Burn? For me, it has to be yes. And I like Dan Burn, but I like him as a centre-back and not a left-back.
Well, the rumours are Dan Burn's going centre-forward, I believe. So, and then to give, obviously, Tino an opportunity. That was only a joke, of course, but maybe a satirical joke. But no, I think Tino should start. I think he's able to move very easily up and down that wing. Yeah. And also he's able to provide opportunities and assists. Look, John, I don't get why he isn't playing more. And I'll also say this now. Paul said it at our last get-together that he's not sure whether Tino will play, and I'm still not sure either. I think there's a good chance that Mr. Burn might still start, and for me that's pure just madness. I cannot believe that. Dan Burn's a good player. He's a good man. There's horses for courses, and there's times when he's going to be able to play. But certainly he got roasted the last time against Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest are a good side. They're very capable, and therefore we just don't want to see that mistake. The other thing as well, quite importantly, we don't know what's going on with the forward line anyway, generally. And I think that might even put more pressure on the back four. So I think Tino and his speed and turning ability, I think, would be needed even more, and the opportunity to create as well. So then we've got Trips on one side, Tino on the other, and at least that make up for some possibilities of us being a little bit weaker up front. And if Gordon isn't playing, then he might be able to fill some of that gap in some ways. So for me, Tino has to play primarily defensively, but look what more he can give you offensively.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. Look, like I said, we're not having a go at Dan Burn. It's not an agenda at Dan Burn, but we just want the best for Newcastle United. And for me, we've got to pick the best side as well. I mean, Livramento needs to get games. Tino needs to get games, yeah? You got to give him a run of games, see what he can do. You can't play 2 games dropping, man. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of this kid, yeah? But the thing is, Eddie's got to pick the best as well. And Alan's saying, why have our owners not backed Eddie for loan deals in Jan? He needs help. I think Tom would be quite happy to explain why.
Well, my opinion is, I rate Eddie Howe, but if I was an investor in the club, and looking at how my money's being spent and the position the club's in at the moment, I think Eddie Howe has spooked the people with the purse strings. I think he spooked them. People can say it, look, it's my opinion. People can say, well, it's down to FFP and this, that, and the other. It's not what I believe to be the case, and certainly partly in some evidence is showing that monies were available, and obviously decisions could be made in advance of monies being available too. That depends on the financial year end as well. However, I think Eddie spooked them, and that's my opinion. And I think he spooked them for a number of nefarious decisions he's made. And I just wonder if, in some ways, maybe the right word is not that the fact they've wrote off the season, but I think it's possibly down to the fact that they may have looked at this and say, right, okay, let's get through this season and let's build for next. So, therefore, I do believe, sadly, Eddie has spooked them, and I still won't change my mind. If I'm wrong later, fine, I'll put my hands up and I'll do that. But from my point of view, if I was investing and seeing what's been going on, and in light of certain decisions being made which have had impacts in games, and the evidence is there to all of you, as the evidence is there, and that started with the Liverpool game, in my opinion, when they were down to 10 men. There's decisions which haven't been correct, and those decisions lie with one man. So if that's the case, then if Eddie has then to prove his worth, I don't think playing Dan Burn at left back after what he's gone through a number of times, I don't think what Kieran Trippier has been and gone through a number of times as well, when he should have been moved to one side and somebody brought in, has done Eddie's reputation much good, because not me, thousands of others have questioned that position. Well, if myself and thousands of others have questioned that position, it does make one wonder what obviously the owners are thinking as well. Another interesting fact as well is we don't see a lot of Amanda now. I know she's obviously sold some of her shares to the Reuben brothers, but we don't see a lot of Amanda now. And I just wonder if things are changing organically in Newcastle, where they're moving to a more solid corporate position. And I don't know, it's something's afoot, I think. But getting back to where I started, Eddie needs to start and put a run of games of winning, good tactical nous. And I wish him well. I want him to do that. And then that would then give the directors more confidence to look at spending. I think it's 150, 200 mil minimum spend in the summer. That's what I think. But he's got to show that A, he's got to work with Dan Ashworth. B, he's got to be tactically better in terms of how he's dealing with in-game management, critical in-game management, decision-making, quick decisions, looking at what the substitutes are, looking at where the positional weaknesses are and filling those gaps, particularly when you've got a lead. And the other part, which I am absolutely astounded on, is the fact that we've not been able to finish sides off. And that finishing sides off was definitely the Luton game. We sat back. I can't see what's going on the sidelines. Maybe you did that, but we did fall back quite heavily after going forward and forward and forward. So as far as I'm concerned, we should be finishing these sides off as well. So that's a long-winded answer. In short, Eddie, pull your socks up, please. Do what you're capable of doing and give these directors the confidence for them to give you 200 million.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I get a lot of fans outside Newcastle saying that Eddie Howe isn't the man for Newcastle. You need to have a conversation with other managers like you as well. But yeah, you know what it is? I mean, I'm Eddie in, but I trust these owners as well. Simple as that. Big up to Gary V. Again, big up to Helen. Leading to you, love. I hope you're okay. And we're a big Aston Villa fan as well. And I think she's a season ticket holder as well. Helen, unlucky yesterday. And I hope you find looking good. And I think the owners have done the right thing. The tax revenue lost on sales during this window will make a clear move to change the rules. That's in Kel. I totally agree about Dan Burn as well. For me, is a centre-back. He is a centre-back. No, it's no buts. What does everyone make of this blue card? Oh, I mean, I've seen this today. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why did you just leave our great, pretty game alone? Why do you have to complicate things? Why? What's it going to be next? Yeah, like a black card for the first time you do. HOWAY.
Man, I tell you what, they can't even get their decisions on the field right. They can't even get VAR right. You know, they can't even decide.
They even admitted that today.
They don't know what penalty is. They don't know what handball is. They don't know what offside is. How are they gonna? Who is going to decide what advocates this blue card? What is a cynical foul? Do you know what does that mean to a referee? Does that mean the same to one referee to another referee? Do you know it's another thing where it's like we're just going to be asking for this to ruin our to ruin it even more. That it'll be like, oh, that blue card was to nothing, and then someone gets relegated because of a stupid goal because of a blue card. We've already got we don't need refs to have more decisions to make. We need them to have less decisions to make at the moment because they keep getting it wrong. And what does that mean? Does that mean a blue card goes to VAR? Because my goodness, what does that even mean? Like, can you get a blue card rescinded? Have you got so many blue cards you can get? Do 2 blue cards mean you get a red card? What is this? Why are we in rugby?
It's just absolutely ridiculous, man. It really, really is. So the game's 4:15 kickoff. They're just going to end up finishing at 11 o'clock flipping clock.
The interesting thing about blue is I just had a quick look at blue, and it really makes a mockery of this. Blue stands for the following, viewers, and it stands for as a colour. And thinking of PGMOL, it is laughable. But blue stands for the following: loyalty, responsibility, and trust. There you go. You can look it up in the Collins Dictionary if you want, my sirs and ladies.
Loyalty.
There you go. It stands blue has an allegiance with loyalty, responsibility, and trust. And I look at those ragbags and those, those muggles and the way they run it, because let's be honest, PGMOL is not the following at all. It's certainly not transparent, right? It doesn't represent what the game is supposed to be, which is supposed to be independent as well. It's a closed shop, it's a cartel, and it allows no third-party interference from professional footballers or international or European referees to change and improve the game. And may I remind everybody, the reason the Premier League's got better is because we've improved the game by bringing more international players into the game, yet PGMOL will not do that. So just to remind everybody, blue means loyalty, responsibility, and trust. Come on, the PGMOL.
Big up, my guy. Big up. Absolutely right. And I'll tell you what, source VAR at first before you think about this blue card lark. Blue is definitely not the colour because you do not support Chelsea. Evening, guys. I don't believe that I've lost confidence in Eddie. No club spend like last January because Everton's penalty scared everybody. And I tell you what, and that's a fair point because they're thinking about twice. And you know what it is, right? And the bottom line is, I'm not going to lie, right? But they'll be thinking twice before spending big money. I think they may just scrap a January window, to be fair, if this carries on. And the Premier League is going to lose money as well. Bring up this stupid rule, but it is what it is. Let's go on to Tom. Question for you. Do you think our owners are looking for someone else in the summer before spending big? I hope not. And that's a question from Alan. Oh, that's a cracking question, mate.
Well, I'd heard from different sources. Goodness sake, I don't know what third or fourth degree they are from the club, but I'd heard that they had been spooked by what's been going on with Eddie. So let's just look at the law of averages here. Yeah. The law of averages was we had a wonderful season last season. We played a certain way. And them law of averages in that certain way it really got us to a position where, and I'm not going to say I'm going to say it, but I don't believe it. I believe we got there because we were good enough to be there. The difference was, though, we couldn't stay there. And the reason we couldn't stay there was obviously, I realise injuries and FFP without a doubt, and I agree with the person there earlier. And I think that the main thing is the averages was there, things were good. But let's be honest, what's happened, and I saw it, I think last night with Aston Villa, is that people understand the way Eddie plays. And by the fact the way he plays, that was evident. And I'll come back in some ways to the second half of the Liverpool game, going as far as back that, because at times we were absolutely outstanding against Liverpool. But nevertheless, they found out where and what Eddie's about. And that is critically the position we understand when a manager is worth what he is. And what I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that he can take that position and change it where he can move the team forward. Now, if he hasn't been able to change that, then certainly his in-game management is now about dealing with substitutions, about dealing with players and making changes quickly, making those changes ruthlessly. And we have two managers that do that already, even three with Arteta in some ways. Then I don't think Eddie's shown that. Do I believe Eddie's good enough? I do. So I think there is a possibility. I think genuinely there is a possibility, because I do not believe for one moment they're going to leave the club where they are. And I'm also going to add something into this melting pot, and it's this. If they allow the club to stay where they are, you will definitely have players want to leave. And there will be the Isaacs, it will be the Brunos. They will want to leave because they have had a taste of the good life in the Champions League.
Botman as well.
Yeah, and Botman as well. And the reason they've had a taste is simply, and we're all creatures of habit, it's simply down to the fact that, there we go, Joe Linton's put a whopping opportunity down on the table for a huge rise in salary, because he has an idea what he's worth. And why is he worth that? Because he showed it in some ways in the Champions League, and the year before he was quite magnificent. He was outstanding. So Eddie, if he isn't able to manage this, I've got one other point. If he isn't able to manage it, yes, I think possibility is they're looking at this. I genuinely believe they are. And the last point I'll make, and it's this, the point I'll make is really down to the fact that Eddie has managed players parochially. Those players have not been at the level of players we are actually involving Newcastle with now. And it's using those players and bringing these international players and bringing them into a mix and using them successfully. Now, that takes time. It takes experience. So Eddie, I don't think's managed that particularly well. The football he plays is excellent. And it's my opinion, yes. I think they may be looking, but I don't believe they will settle. I repeat, they will settle for the position we are in, because I think Newcastle has gone through its period now of settling down. It's now seeing growth on growth on growth commercially. They want to keep pushing that. Champions League, European football is absolutely the centre of that. And they will want to see that reflected on the pitch. And can I remind everybody, they weren't able to change things in American golf as quickly as what they wanted. And all it did was they bought out the monopoly of the PGA. They put $4.5 billion on the table and they bought them out. So therefore, if they want to make the changes, they will. And the interesting fact, I think there's a new guy at the helm anyway at Newcastle. And when I watched the Newcastle position on TV, how Amanda, how Gadusia and the rest actually fall in line with Piff, it clearly tells me who is the boss and who's calling the shots.
Yeah, I mean, that's facts, really. That's true to form. And I tell you what, if you're correct, Tom, and I think you could be right, I tell you what, it doesn't look good for Eddie at this moment in time. I'm Eddie in, but if they go for a bigger name, there
John,
will be takers there. So,
but John, let's be honest.
Yeah.
With all Paul included, it's in Eddie's hands to do this. I want Eddie to succeed. He seems a wonderful man. I really want him to succeed. But at the end of the day, if they want a European manager and they want somebody to come to the Premier League, well, what does that European manager bring? Well, he not only brings experience, they'll probably bring somebody in that's got European experience as well. And guess what that does? Totally opens the market in Europe as well. There's a number of other things in play here. Yeah. And also, by the way, I'll put little bit money down with anybody. I reckon PIF will take over at least another 2 to 3 clubs in Europe in different leagues.
I'm gonna have to agree with you, man. I'm gonna have to agree because they're not happy. They just don't want Newcastle. I mean, Inter Milan's one of them as well, but it could be an Italian club, it could be a Spanish club, it could be a French club, but we shall see. Simbin works in rugby, and do you know where they should stay? In rugby. Thank you, Jules. Big up to Gordon White, big Leeds United fan. I hope you're fine. Hope you're ready for the weekend, Gordon. Your team's going really well. Daniel Farker's doing fantastic. I think you'd be going up this season, my guy. And if you do, well done. And I told you, Leeds United are a massive club. Yeah, they should not be in the championship. Their fans are so much better. So, and make sure you get up, Gordon, because your club is amazing. And big up, and I hope you don't get Janet Jackson doing halftime shows. We talked about some Super Bowl. It's Usher. Usher's doing American football as well. But if I use an injury as an excuse, justifiable. Manager gets that excuse to fight, or to can't fight for 4 fronts of half the squad. That's the problem. That is the problem. We need to big up the squad in the summer. Will it be Eddie or someone else?
Sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry, Paul.
Go.
All my apologies, Paul. I shouldn't be. Sorry, were you going to say something there, Paul?
Go on, Paul. He's going to say something about Eddie Howe. So, do you think Tom was right about Eddie and Paul? What he said about sorting it out?
For me, it's just I don't know who's out there. That's the big problem with management. Amanda and Mirdad have a very clear idea what they want from Eddie. They want him to be our version of Sir Alex Ferguson. That was they said that from the day he came in. They want that version of a manager that comes in and builds it from the bottom and gets up to being an elite manager. Now, that's a difficult thing to do in football, and patience isn't always a big thing in football, as we know. And the thing is, as we just alluded to, it's not them that make the final decisions. PAF do, and if they don't see results because they want to be number one.
Yeah.
As much as I love Eddie Howe, and as much as, like I said, I think it's, the only reason why we're annoyed is thanks to Eddie Howe. We're annoyed at not being top 4 because he got us there. Thanks to the players as well. So it's crazy where Newcastle United we're moaning about not being top 4. It's mad. It's a joyous thing where we're not worried about being 18th anymore. It's brilliant. It's a lovely change of pace for Newcastle. We're more annoyed about being 5th or 6th than being annoyed at being 17th and being relegated. So it's a nice position to be in. But the thing is, they want to be top, and it's very simple. And the problem is, I think next season is a big season for Eddie. Having everyone back, if they do allow him to have some funds, I doubt. I mean, we'd be very unfortunate to go through a season like this again with injuries. Of course, we're going to get injuries. You can't have a seat. No team has an injury-free season. I get that, but to have this many again would be pretty bad luck. It really would be. So you would imagine that we have a season where we have 1 or 2 injuries, not 11, right? So you're going to have a few, of course. As how football is, you get injuries. So if we were here and we had a fully fit squad right now, and there was no injuries really, we had a lot of players like were bought for money. I think Eddie Howe's position would be in a lot of trouble because they would be thinking, hang on, mate, we spent a lot of money, we had many injuries, we've had a lot of things going. Whereas at the end of the season, like I said a few times, Eddie Howe can go in there and say, we were a penalty away from qualifying for Champions League. We were a penalty away. We were a header away from being in the court. In my opinion, no offense, Middlesbrough, we were a header away from being in the final of the Carabao Cup. You know, who knows? Liverpool are a good side. We'd probably lose, but you never know. It's a one-off game. If you never know, you might win it. Liverpool might have an off game. So for me, we're a header away from being in the final, and we're still in the FA Cup right now. You know, so that's not a terrible season. I know people are thinking it is, but if that penalty doesn't get given against us, if Trippier doesn't make a mad decision, we're sitting here going, well, yeah, we're not in the position in the league we want to be, but we're in the Champions League knockouts, we're in the final, and we're near a quarterfinal in the FA Cup. That's not a bad season, is it? When you put that all into perspective. So there's a lot of things that didn't go our way with the rub of the green this season, in my opinion. So we've been very unfortunate at times as well.
Yeah,
definite. But then there's performances like this is one of the wrongs we got put right on Saturday, because our performance against Nottingham Forest was one of the worst I've ever seen at St James's Park. It was terrible. Mm-hmm. And the Luton game was bad. It yes, it was 4-4 in the end, and we did claw it back. But no offense to Luton, I don't want to seem like they're just a side that aren't a good side. But no offense, we shouldn't be getting a 4-4 with Luton at St James's Park. I'm just being honest and fair. That can't happen. We should be more professional than that. We should be more, be able to control the game better than that. We were 1-0 quite early. Eddie Howe said himself he felt we were going to go on and smash that game after that. And we didn't. We didn't control the game at all after that. So there's still some lessons to be learned here. So I'm hoping that we can go to Nottingham Forest on Saturday and right a bit of a wrong, because we made Chris Wood look like Messi.
Yeah, we'll see. You're absolutely right, guys. You're absolutely right. Let's go to comments to talk about Nottingham Forest. Please smash the likes as well, and Twitter, people watching from It Is Live as well. You are spot on, though. Only a couple of teams that can keep playing the same way without changing because the players are that good. Eddie's trying to do this with an average one with injuries. Fair point, David. You're so correct. Fan pressure sucks, but if you didn't live through the Ashley era and are mourning about Eddie, it is insane to me. Kill. That's very true, man. Ellen, how do you think through the end up, John? I think, personally,
12.
I think I'm going to say fifth. But if you do get top six, Ellen, it represents a fantastic season. Emery's doing a fantastic job. He is doing really, really well for you. And I tell you what, just need to get your injured players back. Konsa, maybe Tyrone Mings to a point, and play Leon Bailey more times, and I think you can fight for the top four. I'm going to say fifth, and I think you make the Champions League as well. We'll be very, very unfortunate. Gary have indeed, and Jules to Helen McFadden, staunch filler. So far, top six at the minute, but I imagine loving the top four. Well, I said to Jules on Hobby that he's a Villa fan, and I do apologise, Jules, for that very, very day. Villa are one of the top teams to benefit from VAR. However, I think they have a great team. I agree, Kel. I think Villa will drop off now, end up just above the bottom three.
I was thinking like me. I said 12.
Cool. Dover, Emily will be, you now be happy with that. Anyway, let's go on to Forest, because it is a preview. At the minute, Forest have got 21 points, fifth from bottom, 2 points from the drop zone, and they could get points deducted from FFP breaches. And Steve Cooper, Tom, got sacked, which I still cannot understand that for the life of me, because he's done a fantastic job. Yeah, the fans loves him, the players loves him, but obviously the owner thinks enough's enough, so yeah, it was a goal, and it got in Nuno Espirito Santo, and you know what? They beat us in his first game, and can you see Forest staying up this season, Tom? And the season so far?
Well, they've spent a lot of money, that's for sure. And maybe this, I heard questions being asked of Steve originally about, could he integrate all these players? Look, I'll be honest with you, I'm no football expert, of course I'm not. And but nevertheless, they pulled the trigger to try and keep them up. And the new manager of ex-Tottenham and I think Wolves has done a job for them. and he certainly did a job on us. So I think they've got a chance of staying up if they can keep their quicker men fit. I think they do have a chance of staying up, but I think critically they've got to do better at home, and they've got to stop conceding as many goals at home. That will be, it's normally the common denominator for a side staying up where they improve at home. And I think Nottingham Forest maybe have to do that. If they do that and do improve that slightly, I think they've got a great chance of staying up. Personally, I hope they do, because the way they played against us, even though I absolutely hated it, they did play some good football. They played some good football, and they were extremely attacking, albeit on the break, but they were. And for that reason, I'd like to see them stay up, and I think they've got a chance. But I think the home results are going to be critical to them. They've got to concentrate on what's going on at home, and move it from there. That's it. Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. And Paul, I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be the key player if he's fit. And I tell you what, this guy's been getting rave reviews for Forest, and he's the one who's carrying the club in a minute. Like, I mean, he scored some good goals. His passing ability is great. His dribbling skills is there, and we've been linked with him as well in the January window. But there's no way it's going to get him. But it could be available in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, do you? But I also like Alanga. I think he's quite a key part of their attack as well. And as I said, people might get annoyed at it, but I'm telling you right now, if Dan Burn is fit, he's starting this game. I know people don't want to hear it and they get mad at me when I say it. I'm telling you right now, if Dan Burn's fit, Eddie Howe's going to put him in. It's just that simple. Tino might start on a wing maybe, but I just don't see, I don't see Tino starting. I just think that Eddie puts a lot of trust in Dan Burn in particular. So I think he starts this game if he's fit.
I think you're right, Paul. When you said it last week, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a great chance of that. The frustrating thing is we've spent all that money and we're not using these players very often. And if you're going into Europe, you cannot play the same team week in, week out. We've found that. And again, sadly, I come back to Eddie, and I'm just wondering if Eddie is capable of pulling these players together. Because in Europe, I definitely think you need a sitting midfielder who's defensive, a Czech Tiote, someone like that. I definitely think you need that because it seems to me like all the top European clubs have got that. But it's an issue again where you kind of flog these players season in, season out. You've got to utilise a squad. I'm not sure if Eddie's ever done that. He maybe hasn't had a chance in some ways. I don't think he's had the chance now. And I'm not actually saying that in terms of when from the game starts, but certainly changing it mid-game or giving players the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't see that, and I want to see that.
I'll do as well. But my worry is, excuse me, if he keeps playing Dan Burn and he target him, like Alanga rips him apart, and you also got Semenya from Bournemouth to rip him apart, and then you got Saka ripping him apart as well. And if Eddie keeps playing him, Paul, I think Eddie, and I don't want you to say this, he could be in trouble for keeping picking on a player as gets skinned every week. And that's not an agenda for Dan Burn. I'll just tell it how it is.
Dan Burn's a centre half. There's no doubt about it. He's done a great job on the left-hand side. He's a great player. He's a good man. He's a wonderful ambassador to the club. It's his boyhood ambition. Everything I say about Dan, including on the pitch, is good. But when you're playing against somebody who can run 100 metres less than 10 seconds, with all due respect, Dan's not going to catch them. You need players for the occasion. And guess what they call that, ladies and gentlemen? A squad. Yeah,
that's very, very true. That's very, very true. And I'm going to talk about Emil Kraft in a minute as well. It's news about him as well. Versus payback time, it's got to be a team win. Hoping Gordon's fit and playing. I don't think Gordon will be picked because of his injury. In terms of Forest, they lost so many players this season. They came up because double figures were out of contract, loans expired. So they've done well to survive. I agree with you, Leslie. I mean, they're playing some good football. They're still getting players in, and they've got a squad there capable of doing bits. Morgan Gibbs, right, and Anger. Chris Wood, if he's fit, I don't think he'll be playing on Saturday, apparently. So that's one good news out of the way. Do you think Harvey will start Gordon's out? That's a possibility, Lorraine. That's a possibility. For me, I have him starting. I play Murphy on the right, I have Harvey on the left.
And well, even if they play Harvey Barnes to start with, at least you've got the opportunity to possibly bring them off if he's feeling it a bit. But let's get off to a good start rather than trying to catch that team up.
Exactly. And we've got to defend properly because these teams are quick. We don't defend properly, we don't win games. Simple as that. And Ed is capable, without a doubt, of achieving, but his hands are tied. And he's back in. Needs consistent players. That's exactly right, Lorraine. As long as he doesn't get Bournemouth players. Simple as that. And I'll tell you what, if he gets Dominic Solanke, if he does get Dominic Solanke, 70 million quid, I'll go for Ivan Toney for 80 mil and just pay the 80 mil next in the summer. That'll be the signing and that'll be business done for me. Paul, and before we go on, what do you think, Paul?
Oh, sorry, hang on. It's all gone wrong. My phone went off.
No, that's sorry. Well, let's say, what do you think, Paul?
It all depends on where Gordon is, isn't it? I think I'd love Barnes to start though, because he changed the game against, he really did. I love his pace, love his ideas. Really enjoy that. I do think we. It's just a bit like I said, just having like Murphy back, just having a different player. Miggy has done a decent job, but just having a different player to play in that position, just giving the opposition something to think about, because we've been too predictable for managers. I think most I think any manager that's played us before today pretty much knows what 11 we're going with, because we've had to stick with the same 11. So when we're in that horrible period of not being able to change anything, most managers have been like, well, that's the 11 because that's all they've got. So at least we do have some nice, people we can bring on for once. So, if Barnes does start, that gives Nottingham Forest something to think about, because he's a really intelligent player. If Gordon is fit, again, that's great, because if he can come off the bench, that's a dangerous player to come off the bench. If Murphy starts and Miggy doesn't, again, you've got a dangerous player off the bench, or the other way around. Like, we're finally getting some options back. This is what we want. Like Wilson being back fit, which is great. Isaac should be back, hopefully. Maybe not by Forest, but at least he's back soon. So again, you got striker options there. And you can play, like we said with Tino, like Tino is obviously, you can play with him as like on the wings if you want to. He can play there. Not his preferred position, I know, but there are things that he can use. If Lewis Hall is more trusted, he's someone who can use in midfield if he wanted to. But I just don't think the trust is there, sadly, with him. It's a shame because he is a skillful player, but like I said, there's a lot to that situation that hasn't come public. So it's one of those with Lewis Hall. I feel for him. It's kind of, when you think of Eddie Howe signings, it's one of the only ones that hasn't gone right. Like he's got a lot of these signings right. This one looks like it's the one that just hasn't really. I'm assuming that if he doesn't definitely hit all the things for the contract, he'll probably just end up going back to Chelsea.
Yeah, and it's a shame. So his dream move has turned to a nightmare in a minute. But go on, Tom.
I think Paul touched on some really good things there, and
he has.
to expand some of those things about bringing players off the bench and doing other things with it, is the fact that I'm fascinated also with the Dan Ashworth's position in all of this. I really am, because Dan Ashworth, I'm not sure if Lewis Hall was Eddie's. Sometimes I think, was he Dan Ashworth's? I don't know. But they brought Dan in to do a job.
Yeah.
And that job is to recognise, from a business point of view, let's just call them as the recognised young assets. And those assets can come onto the books and be resold. And certainly, without a doubt, get a far, far higher return on margins and return on interest, called ROI. So However, part of that story is that if those players are going to be playing, they've got to be able thereabouts in the squad, and they have to be used. And squad rotation, Eddie's not really had the players he's wanted in so many cases. So that's going to be another thing I'll be watching very, very closely at the moment. So I think Dan Ashworth is very important to Newcastle going forward. And I think if we look at the club, not maybe similar, but a similar scenario in I'm not sure if it's Sneijden or whatever, the similar or the equivalent of Dan Ashworth down at West Ham. He's bringing certain players in, and he's bringing those players in because there's an opportunity of selling them on. With West Ham, the owner doesn't seem to understand what he's trying to do, even though he employed him. And you've got a manager who, in some ways, doesn't want to play them. Newcastle are in a different ball game now, ladies and gentlemen. They really are. I've got the fullest confidence they're going to take it to the next level. And if certain people around this particular model can't take the next step up to that level, then they won't be here. They won't be here. And just going back to what Paul said about what managers are out there, I believe they would go for a manager, Paul, and take them away from a club in Europe. I think that's what they might have to do.
Simeone.
Yes, that's been mentioned often, and he's got a great way about him. He's got a lot of plaudits about him. Don't know a great deal about him, but he seems to be able to understand Europe, what he's about, and he understands the market. Yeah. One thing I like about him is he seems to have really intelligent in-game management as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I saw before we go on to the next comments as well. I mean, for those who don't know Jake Simeone, he won the La Liga title, second season, beating Barca at the Nou Camp. 2 weeks later, he won the King's Cup at Madrid. Yeah, he's won two league titles since he's been there. Yeah, let's be real, and 3 Europa Leagues as well. So let's be real about it. Yeah, this guy. I mean, I'm Eddie in. I want Eddie to be manager, but if he does go, he'd be my first choice. I want a winner. And I'm sorry, Paul. Simeone is my man.
I mean, but Paul, from your opinion, we've discussed this off air as well. If he puts Dan Burn in, can I just ask what your opinion would be then?
I think he had a decent game at Villa until Bailey came on, to be fair to him. And then Eddie did react to that with Livramento coming into the 5 at the back.
Correct.
Dan Burn can play a good game against speed. I mean, he did kind of keep Saka in his pocket when we played Arsenal. He did him a few times, but he kind of relaxed a bit. But it's really difficult. I think it's more than just him, because Dan Burn wasn't great at Luton. I was very critical of him. I give him a 0 out of 10. So he doesn't get a free point pass from me at all. He's had a bad game, but then so Shah had a bad game, Botman had a bad game, even Trippier defensively had a bad game. He had a really good game going forward, but I thought Trippier was pretty poor defensively. So I think sometimes if the unit isn't playing well, it does always look worse on one player. A lot of teams' strategy is to get at Dan Burn's side, but I don't know if that changes much even if Tino starts, because again they might think they can attack his youth. And it's inexperience. So, look, for me, I'm thinking that this season, I think Eddie's just trying to get through what we have. I think we start. I think next season is when we actually properly. I think that's when Tino actually probably is like the starter there. I think. I know that's not what everyone wants to hear. I just think that Eddie kind of trusts that back four because of what they did in that season just gone. People forget that. I know Pope isn't there, but they were the best defence in the whole league, apart from Man City. There was the same amount of goals conceded, which is phenomenal for a Newcastle side. But I've seen some Bournemouth fans. A few Bournemouth fans have been messaging saying that this is kind of similar to his days at Bournemouth, where he would have like a thing that would work, but to his detriment, because he trusted these players quite a lot, he would stick with them too much. and then they get caught out. I mean, you know, I think they showed the highlights of the game when we played them in COVID ball, when we just completely destroyed them. You know, their back four was terrible that game when Eddie was in charge. And, you know, I think we got under every time we looked like scoring in that game because the back four looked really poor. And sometimes we look that bad, you know, so it is something that we need to work on for definite, because Eddie Howe's always had criticism of his defence. Steve Bruce made a snide comment about it, you know, when he took over, going, oh, you know, the person that relegated Bournemouth, you know, that made him look a bit thick when he did really good with the defence. But then again, this season we have struggled, and Dan Burn has struggled. And I don't know, again, I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I do wonder, because whenever he gives his shirt away, he's still very highly patched up. I wonder if he's actually 100, you know, I don't know how many of our squad is actually 100% fit.
That's a good point.
I think a lot of them are playing on like knocks, bruises, you know. I think most of this side are probably, you know, they probably can't wait for the end of the season, to be honest. You know, so many of them are just absolutely, you know, crocked, you know. And I saw that, was it the Villa game when Burn gave his shirt away? I think it was Villa, right? I think it was Villa. When he took it off, he's still very.
He did. No, you're right. I've started to see that a lot more. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. That's a very interesting scenario. But yes, I agree. That might be a valid point. But then again, it comes back, doesn't it, Paul? Then if he is that way and he's not playing to his full potential, then that may answer why other players are getting on and they're not at their full potential because they're partly injured.
Yes.
So you would agree, Paul, that doesn't reflect much on Eddie or Jason.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And that's where my criticism of Eddie Howe sometimes is he needs to be like, I don't want to make Jules angry. I'm not saying they're favourites. I just think they're people that he knows he can trust. But I think part of being a good manager is being ruthless. It really is. Like,
yes,
you know, Alex Ferguson,
he's not done that. He's not done that enough. He's not done that.
Alex
If
Ferguson,
he's just been ruthless.
Yeah.
This is why Jose is ruthless. Fergie's ruthless. Klopp's ruthless. Pep's ruthless. Yeah. Eddie's got to be the same. That's not a criticism. It's just a fact.
No. It's just one of those things where if Dan Burns had a few bad games, it's not saying he can't play ever again, but sometimes you do have to kind of be like, look, mate, you've had a poor run. Like Trippier. Again, Trippier's a brilliant player. I'm not slagging him off. He was in the worst vein of his form. Just gone. Awful. His head was somewhere else, no matter what was happening. Mm-hmm. You've got, you know, he cost us a few games. Mm-hmm. He'll know that himself. But a ruthless manager is someone who goes, look, Trips, you're not playing. Sorry, mate, you're not. Like, I can't trust you right now. Get your head together. And then when you're ready, and I feel you're ready, I'll put you back in. Because he wasn't. And I think that's just where Eddie will learn.
Well, Paul, to be honest with you, I don't think he's ever done that. And I think we need to remind each other, he did go away for over 12 months to understand the defensive positions and what would need to improve his game. Now, suddenly his game did improve, but defensive capabilities for the half the season he came in and the full season last season was there to be seen by everybody. But for some reason, that's fell away. Yeah, you know, and that was without a defensive midfielder. So I think if we are going to have to play in Europe, I think every side I seem to look at seem to have a defensive midfielder. I think it's needed, and sadly, what you call Barkley effectively running through without anybody touching them, midfield and straight into the back four, and then had 2 or 3 players either side of him to pass. Well, that's just embarrassing, wasn't it?
Totally agree.
I'll tell you what, lads, we test Man City's resolve and we put a big bid in for Rodri. That's what we need to do.
Fantastic player. Best
season
what a wonderful player.
That guy.
Can I remind you, Paul? Can I remind you, he played centre half for Spain in the World Cup, and he did all right then.
Yeah. There you go, Newcastle. There's your transfer scenario. Just what do you want from City?
Yeah, superb. Exactly. So I think, I believe FFP is on the cards as well. Sorry, Joe. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll go through the comments as well, and we'll talk about was one player we've got to pay attention as well. I agree, Paul. Eddie's like to settle back 4, but makes sense for next season to be Livermentals. Yeah, not Slater and Dan Burn, but Liver is a brilliant tackler and a brilliant player going forward as well. It's gone to Lorraine. Ruthless isn't Eddie's style, and that's the problem. That's the worry. Yeah, it's a fair shout. He needs to be ruthless. If he doesn't, they probably get someone else going to be ruthless as well. But that's down to the owners, of course. Many may have faith in players who will try 100%, but agree there may be a high percent of players carrying injuries and knocks that is making them 90% of their capabilities. And you know what it is, Phil? I kind of agree. There. You can't play players who are injured. You just cannot do that. And I hope Anthony doesn't play on Saturday. Dub's style is effective at back 4, which then affects the midfield. That is Roger's comment. I agree, Roger. 100%. 100%. Yes, we're back on agreement form. If Leslie speaks, you better listen, because I always believe Leslie what she says. And Leslie, know that, don't you, Leslie? Yes or no? Thank you. There's one player that no one haven't mentioned, right? For me, I'm going to mention him. It's Nicolas Dominguez. I'm in the midfield CDM. This guy, he played for Bologna. He's a really good player. He really is. But since coming to the Premier League, I thought to myself, he might be a little bit too lightweight for the Prem. But I tell you something, that Nicolas Dominguez, he is an excellent player. He scores some goals, makes some late runs, scores some cracking goals as well. And I tell you what, we need to keep him quiet as well, because he can take the game. Everyone's gone about Alana, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, and Wanini. He's going to play out front, by the way. He's back from injury. He's dangerous as well from set pieces as well. But Dominguez, that guy, he is a really, really, really good player. He really is. So don't take him from mug, because he can cause a bit of problems as well. Sometimes, John. All the time, Leslie. I'm the judge all the time. So I don't know if anyone heard of Dominguez. I don't think you guys have, but he is a really good player. Argentine international. And I think Bologna sold him too cheaply, to be fair, but it is for what it is. Right. So for me, who do you think's going to play on Saturday, Paul, 5:30? Who's your starting lineup? You're the manager.
Shaka Hislop in goal.
That's not what
We'll have,
we need a goalkeeper who's a sweeper.
Yeah, we'll have Dubravka in goal, definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be Trips, Botman, Shah. Sorry, guys. If he's fit, it will be Dan Burn. I know people don't want to hear it. It will be Dan Burn. Midfield's going to be interesting. Midfield will be interesting with where we are with injuries. I'm going to assume it's going to be the same, but I'm just wondering what Eddie might do if we have some people back. But we'll stick with what's tried and tested. Pretty much confident it's going to be Bruno, Miley, and Sean. But I'm just wondering if some people are back, he might play around a bit. But that's usually in midfield there. This is where it's a bit more difficult. Wilson obviously up front, that's easy. I'm just intrigued who's going to play. I'm really intrigued whether he's going to go for. If Barnes is, if Gordon's obviously not fit enough and Barnes is starting, so I'm going to just make a guess and say that Barnes will start. And I think it's going to be a toss-up between Murphy and Almiron, like who he thinks he can start in this game. So I think that's really interesting. For like the workload we might need and it being away, I wonder whether we might go with Miggy just because of the workload he has. So that's my assumption, but we know what Eddie's like. He'll completely go against what I say, and we'll go with Livermental on the wing or something. But that's my guess. I think that's probably close to what it will be.
Yeah, I think you're right. Do you go with that one, Tom?
I'm going to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm going to obviously Dubs, Botman, Shaw, Trips, and I'm going for Tino. I think Paul's right. If something's happened to Gordon, then Barnes has to start coming in and cutting in from that side. And I'm going to go for Murphy again. I think he did okay. And I think in terms of what pace they offer, I think Miggy is exactly the same. But I think crossing wise, I think you'll pay Murphy to put some crosses in there for Wilson. So it would be obviously Wilson. It would be Barnes, Bruno. Then you've got Longstaff, and then you've got Miley, and then Murphy. So that's what I would go for.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks so much indeed for that. We're going to close the show in the next 7 minutes or so. So
I think the other thing with Miley is, I just think the first half Miley was lightweight. Someone said to me on Tuesday, Monday, when he produced a great tackle. He did. He produced a great tackle, which then got Harvey Barnes' wonderful goal. But for me, to be taken seriously as a top quality midfielder, which I think he's on the verge of, two things: he's got to work on his speed, and he's got to work and try as a young man, which isn't easy as a young man. He's got to try and puff his chest out, become more physical, get some more weight on him and more muscle, and obviously get in the tussle with some of these games as well. Potentially, he's a fantastic player, and what a head he's got on him, and he can certainly pick a pass. But certainly, the thing that concerns me right across, because we don't have Joe there, is the fact that we don't have any pace in midfield. It always has been a problem for me.
Yeah, big miss, big time. I mean, look, at the end of the day, get this guy signed up, and then
he wants to be here. He wants to stay. Give the man what he wants.
I think you'll get I don't think you'll get maybe what people are touting about, but I think they'll go somewhere towards it. But in light of the way they're talking about FFP at the moment, and in taking inflation into effect, they're talking only about a rise from 105 per year up to around between 100 and 150. And knowing players what they are and the salaries they're on, that ain't going to go a long way.
Agree. I agree. Let's hope that's the case. Let's hope he stays at the club. And one other thing for the show, we're all quick about Emil Kraft. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen it, right? But he's going to agree to a new deal, and he's going to play like second or third fiddle at the club. And I'm going to be honest with you, I like Emil. Don't get me wrong. But what is the point? We need someone who's going to come in, a younger player, right? It's going to make a difference, yeah. Emil Kraft, I like him, but there's no point having a new deal and only going to play 3 or 4 games a season. What is the point? Do you know what I mean?
How long's the deal for, John? I don't know.
I don't know how long the deal is, but for me, we need to get changed. If we want to take it to the next level, Emil Kraft is not going to get us there. I want to win trophies on and win things, do you know what I mean? But he's been there for 4 seasons?
Well, right. I agree with you, but if that's the case, John, is Eddie Howe part and parcel of that decision?
Well, the thing is, though, that's another question that we need to know as well. But at the end of the day, he's basically saying, according to football director based in Sweden, Newcastle offered to extend the contract of the defender, who's happy to give him playing more time at the end of games like he was given against Villa. Yeah, so basically coming on late on into the game. This guy's Swedish international, for goodness sake. I mean, for me, he should be playing first team football, not sitting on the bench. Do you know what I mean? I'm not against Emil Kraft. I think he does the job. But if you want to win titles and that, if you want to win cups and that, can he take us to the next level though? And for me personally, I don't think he can. I don't know what you think. Paul. For me, we can't afford to keep out of contract players, and we need to turn over them to make our squad better.
Well, I'm sure. I love Kraft. I think he's brilliant.
He's good. He's good. I don't think he's good, but he's good.
I'm a fan of the contract because I think when he's come in, he's looked phenomenal. He's not a bad backup to have if we've got injuries.
The Manchester United game, he was wonderful.
Yeah, for me,
he had a good game.
I'm all for it. Personally, I think you know, if he's on his game, I think you're struggling to find many people who's going to be willing to, you know, to be that player who doesn't mind waiting his turn and snipping at the heels of people. So for me, I think it makes sense. But I get what you're saying, John. But for me, I'd love Kraft to stay. I think I think we haven't even seen what he's capable of. He's been injured for most of it, which is, a shame.
Yeah.
For me, he's a very, very good squad player.
I think when Trips was out, last year, when Trips was out last year, I thought he improved enormously in terms of his overall game management, in terms of what he was doing, how he was overlapping, how he was staying in the right channels. I thought he really looked good. And then when the Manchester United game came, including Lewis Hall, I thought they're outstanding, along with Willock leading the way, who had a phenomenal, classy game against Manchester United. But we've not seen them since, have we?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But for me, if they're going to get Emil Kraft a new deal, it has to be a 1 year deal and not a 3 year deal. It has to be a 1 year deal.
Yeah, I agree.
If you give him a 3 year deal, like we did with Matt Ritchie, right? And he hardly played. I don't know what happened to Emil Kraft. I really don't.
But John, I've got nothing against Matt Ritchie, but with all due respect to Matt Ritchie, what's he doing on the sub bench? I'm sorry, but I know he's got experience, but his legs have gone. He's not really been used to pile crosses in like he used to, which he was wonderful at. I'm just asking you, in terms of Eddie, here we go again. There's another decision. What's he doing there? And, if I was a young player wanting to push in there, and as a young player, you're practicing week in, week out, thereabouts on the edge of the squad or in the squad, and you're looking, what the hell have I got to do to get in there? And the other thing, of course, as well, is he's coming on before Lewis Hall, which, quite frankly, is mad.
I'm not laughing at you, Tom, but you are right. It is a slap in the face of the younger players. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? But he should be playing. He should be playing elsewhere. What is he? 35 this year? He's 34 now. He's 35 in September, right? And we just don't need him. He's been great serving for the club. Yeah, I love the guy, but let's be real, right? I just don't think we need him. He needs to be away in the summer. Do you know what I mean? We need a fresh start. We need to keep players coming in, right? We're supposed to be the richest club in the world, right? But we still got Matt Ritchie there.
Yeah, well, what's going on? The other thing that comes to mind in terms of right back, tell me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah.
But what's happened to Ashby?
He's at Swansea.
So where's he going to go?
That is an absolutely good shout. That's a good shout. I mean, you got Trippier there, you got Kraft there, you got McCrillo's left, and you got Ashby there. So you've got 3 right backs there. Yeah, that's Trippier, Kraft, and Harrison Ashby. So
if that's the case, then surely that's going to push more space to have other players in, and other players in better positions, So it's another aspect to a manager's job, is looking at what assets we've got. And I never forgot what Bobby Robson said. He says, ideally, you should always have 2 players for each position.
Which is true. I mean, you got Trippier and Kraft and Ashby on the one side. On the other side, you got Burn, Tino, and Lewis Hall, if he's still with us, So that's 3 positions and fullbacks. You know what I mean? And Eddie's got a big job in the summer because he got about 5-6 players out of contract. And what are the odds, right? What are the odds of Jamal Lascelles going to sign a new deal? What are the odds of him signing a new deal?
High.
90%.
Yeah. High.
Well, we definitely need. I'll tell you, I'll go for that Nacho for.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but the question was asked. Yeah. And right. Again, this wording, creatures of habit, but look what's gone on before that. So therefore, Matt Ritchie, favoritism, high, that could happen for a 1-year extension, whatever may be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We have to see in summer.
Sorry, can I ask a question as well, lads? Who's the guy that was on loan to the Belgium league, the defensive midfielder at Newcastle?
Is that Minty?
No, the defensive midfielder. He's come back now. He's got.
Oh, Isaac Hayden. Hayden.
So my other question is, we've got Isaac Hayden. Surely Isaac Hayden didn't become a terrible player overnight, did he?
Nah.
He's gone back. He's gone back out on loan, hasn't he?
He's gone back to he's gone to QPR.
QPR.
All I'm saying, Paul, it wasn't so long ago. He got his injury. He was out for a while. The takeover came.
Yeah.
He's never been seen since. But I think we all can remember and watched him. He put in some absolutely stunning performances.
Yeah.
But yet Matt Ritchie's in.
True. It is
I'm not talking about favoritism. I'm just talking about
no.
As a player, who could we have, who could be needed, and who could have done a job. And if I remember, not so long ago, he was playing in the back four. Correct, yeah. Paul? Yeah.
He was. Yeah, he was.
He was.
Absolutely.
He was.
So what's he done wrong?
Nothing. Not a lot.
So the point I'm making is, what are we doing with the squad? What are we doing?
Exactly. That's down to Eddie. He's got
I'd love to see the blueprints of what and how they're going to use this squad, because I know the injuries are there, but I sometimes in game and when you think things should be going on. I mean, as soon as a chap came on from Aston Villa, the right winger, what do you call him? Came on in the game halfway second half. The right winger, the coloured chap. Sorry, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Bailey.
Bailey came on. Well, surely Eddie saw Bailey, who's a wonderful player, coming on, and consequently he was going to come across Dan Ashworth, and within I think 5 minutes he got around Dan Ashworth and created the goal.
Yeah.
I was screaming at the TV to get him on, to get somebody on, to get Tino on straight away. He didn't. Yeah. I know he put him on afterwards. But the goal had been put in.
Yeah.
Look, all I'm saying, guys, that's the sort of thing I'm looking for from a manager who's going to take this club to the stratosphere. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Hopefully,
I'm sorry, guys, but I ain't seen it.
Hopefully, I understand your pain, my guy. I understand your pain, but you're absolutely right. Go for the call, so we'll wrap up the show.
Sorry for interrupting, John. I'm on morphine before each game anyway.
Wow. Now, see, you're passionate, man. And let's go. I see what you mean. They got big up to Early Doors Football, big West Ham fan. Do follow his channel, Early Doors Football TV. Hit that subscribe button, and he is a great guy. So passionate on this channel. So I got to go on this channel very, very soon. And we're going to end up the show there, guys. That's the preview. Just before we go, give a score prediction, please, guys.
It's away, right? It's away.
It's away.
3-1 Newcastle.
Tom?
I think Nottingham Forest will score. I'm going to go 2-1. And I reckon for the last half an hour, Eddie will park the bus. We'll win.
Yeah.
We'll win, but I'm going for 2-1, and Eddie will try to park the bus. Like he did against Luton. And we nearly got stuffed there.
He did. I think it's going to be 2-1 to Newcastle, and I'm going to be positive 2-1 to Newcastle, and we just go scoring goals is good, but we need to defend properly. So that's going to be it for the show, guys. So I'm going to wrap up straight away, and do find Tom. Where can you find you, Tom?
Asset Vigilante on X. Asset Vigilante on X.
Fantastic stuff. And Paul, where can you find you on Blank Canvas PC on Twitter? And that's where we can find you, yeah?
That's the one, yeah. That's it. All the lovely people following me now. They're all very, very kind and generous people. Thank you so much for your continued support. We love you all.
We love you as well, Paul and Tom as well. And we're going to, like I said, go back to show up because, guys, basically, if you'd like to feel like what you watch, make sure you like and subscribe. Enjoy the game on Saturday. and I'll be going on another channel tomorrow. I'll just let you know which one's going to be. And it's been great. Leave your score predictions in the live comments as well in the comment section down below. Like the video, like what you watch, like and subscribe. Guys, I'm going to let you get away because I've got frozen. Until then, guys, have a fantastic evening, and I shall speak to you soon.